HNL presents the grand finale, part 27, the Medonian Civil War. All out war and chaos had erupted in the giant's castle that was the similar size of that of the legendary Granitopia base during the early years of the first universe. The castle known as Emaria Castle, that was named after the great strategist Emaria, its responsibility in reviving the Medonian Empire. Because of Moses's actions in allowing Horn Reynolds to kill the column Medonian and Direy, those that was opposed to Emolzi now turned to the Ultimate Z's rule, that of the Bathran and the healers, and apparently the police force were blamed, and so they were fighting against those of the Knights, the Plastic, and the Medonian Armada, and the Ayatons, ultimately his own forces, and the Washar, Prenna, who was upset that traitors were amongst them, but nothing more than to see battle again. Unfortunately, that it had to be between his own fellow countrymen, but he relished the fact that he could once again fight. Seeing all this chaos and destruction, the head of the Armada, Senef, who infamously fights with a bazooka, blasted the Kota clan to leadership instead of arresting them, like the police chief, Crest White, wanted. Wanadon was growing increasingly discontented with the Medonian Armada's actions, and was gaining the full knowledge of what he had since the days of the first universe and the days of the alternate timeline, which he stopped time and space. It was, let's see, of the healers, Hall, who reached out to Wanadon, who was also fighting against Premier and their forces. That Wanadon, this is not right. What are you doing? You can't let Medonian destroy itself. Ultimate Z and these others are traitors. You, of all people, should see that. And also seeing that the Dell forces, a Bathman of the Armada, refused to fight their own kind. And especially seeing that the Bathran of Big G Dell and Protein Dell and their nieces and nephew, Pink Dell and Green Dell, were all the same side. The Dell forces on the Armada were about to be killed by Sinef, and then Monodon stopped him and said, Sinef, what are you doing? This is wrong. And Sinef said, I'm loyal to the Empire, regardless if they're wrong or right. Morals mean nothing, only loyalty. If you have morals above loyalty, then you too are a traitor. Monodon said, Sinef, listen to yourself. You're being beguiled by evil. I refuse to follow you any longer. You shall fight. And Monodon and their forces, as well as the Armada, were now fighting the other side of the Armada. Even the Armada was fighting against itself. Figro, one of the new officers at the Plastic, who was fighting against the supposed rebels, as the head of the Knights, Dada, Plastic was fighting for the sake of Tasharan and Satakoi, who was still firmly under the control of Ultimacy. He felt discontented. He implored, Hillel, why are you fighting against your brother, the police force? Don't you not see we being beguiled? Why you think you could truly took power so easily? And then C2 rebuked Rob and said, how dare you defy the orders of their majesties? They've been assassinated. Then Ozpo was like, it seems strange though. Vecrog might have a point. Why would all of us be united suddenly kill Our Lady and destroy our empire when we got the entire universe equally in our hands? It doesn't seem right. So the Plastic forces began to argue amongst themselves, not fighting. the ninth starter, Neelif Anachi, and Baslo, yeah, and Baslo were also fighting against the supposed rebels, and the Aitons were divided. Jean and Robert Octo were at odds with each other. Jean was the opposing resistance, saying that Immolence turned Ultimacy was evil and was clearly influenced by a foreign power. But Robert Otto saw that Ultimacy will lead the Ayatons, the strongest of all Medonian, and leave the Ayatons the head of the Medonians, not Medonian any longer. And so the husband and wife were at odds. Sultan, using his pistol to shoot anyone that opposed his lord. Claire, the wife of Immortal Z, was opposed and joined the resistance. She joined with Gina, and as they waited for the Scholastic reinforcements, suddenly Scholastic arrived. Marissa Amy and Maya Harry, Eve Ubi, and Gordon and Major had arrived in their ship to back up the reinforcements. To back up the resistance, Gina and Hall had called them and explained the situation that evil had taken place at Medonian. Ultimacy, now in his subconscious as Immortalcy, still hated and obsessed over Marissa Ami, and he ordered Sultan to fire upon that ship. It's Marissa Ami, he said, fire, kill her now. If I can't have her, no one will. And Claire at that point was very disgusted at her supposed husband, that after all this time he's still obsessed over this woman. At the same time, the Guardians, led by IB, Suna, and Sheraton, had arrived to assist the Empire. They said, Master Tashon, Dr. Satakoi, we arrived. Sheraton said, it seems the Scholastica are here as well, siding with the rebels. It is clear now. They are behind this. It's time to reestablish the empire and converse some of the Medonian forces to join them. It is clear. Our target is the Scholasticans. Forward! And as all sides began to fight one another, arriving in their own private ship towards Emiria Castle was that of Maverick and Christina. Christina went on to fight off the Chaldeans, and Maverick went on the rendezvous with the leadership of the resistance. He met up again with Chief Crest White, who was stunned to see Maverick kill, and said, "You? I thought you would abandon us." And Maverick said, "No. As the son of the late Queen, Alexa, what you've done for my mother, or what she has done for you in the past, I am obligated to help you. And besides, the darkness I feel and sense has Ricardo yellow all over it, and Ultimate Z is a byproduct of that. Just as how Kardin, Kardan and the Prince of Darkness appeared in this universe again. There's only a matter of time. We must hurry." And then Greendale asked Maverick, "So Maverick, what are you going to do? We're fighting these forces. People are dying on both sides. Our only option is to defeat Ultimate Z. Once he's gone, his hold on the Medonian will end, and we can rescue her, what's left of her. I must go confront him." And then Philip Lemon said, "All right, you get Claire, Marissa, and me, and yourself, and one of Dawn to help you. You need them. They're the pillars. Trust me, you cannot face the Ultimate Z alone." And Maverick said, "Yes, I will go find these people." And speaking of Wanadorn had defeated Seth, despite who had ran out of rockets and rocket launchers, and was utterly defeated. After that, the Medonian Armada started fighting amongst themselves and joined up with the police force, Bathran, and healers against the advisors. There's Anthony Starkey and Leona Starkey, who was still contemplating whether or not they were on the right side of things. Suddenly they noticed Christina and Maverick in the battlefield and said, two unknown forces appear in this battle. Maybe they're the ones who slayed Carla Medonian. And so the two went after them. Christina said, I'll hold them back. Maverick, you go. And as Maverick was running, one of them ran after him, and they was running together. And one of them said, there's no need for you to explain who you are. And well, you're the son of Queen Alexa. And Maverick's like, how? I am one of them. Come on. These are things I should know. Besides, we need to get rid of me. The Skalaska and are exiting the ship and find the Cardines. We must help them. And after Maverick confronted IB, Sona, and Sheraton, they were stunned. Who is this unknown warrior? They asked. And Maverick said to them, stop. You have all once allied under Sumatran, and now you're on the alliance. Both of you all have come to help Medonian, but you're confused. You don't know what side to join. I tell you this now. Your enemy is Ultimate C. He is the true traitor. He has destroyed Medonian and sided with the Coral Yellow, giving him the universe, while Immortal C has ultimate power. Do you really want to fight and serve someone like Ultimate C, who will sacrifice peace and security for the sake of selfish gain and power? It's that time that IB and Suna and Sheraton realized how wrong they were. Marissa and me was continuing fighting, and she said, who are you? And then one of them said, come, let's go. We must get Claire and face Ultimate Z and defeat him. And as they was running towards their goal, Maya, Harry, and Gina were fighting back to back against enemy forces. And Maya commented and said, for some strange reason, I'm kind of enjoying beating these guys up. Should I really be feeling this joy? I understand how my brother felt. And Gina said, I can relate, but still, you should not be overjoyed by this. After all, you're here to help us, not destroy us. Then Gordon said, yes, my ladies, please, allow us to protect you. We have your back. And even Eve Yubi, who always wanted to retire from leadership or fighting, returned to the battlefield, fighting hard against the Ayaton forces. While all this was going on, Chief Cress, White, and Cress were fighting against Prenna, who was very upset by the actions of the resistance. So you lie with new people, Scholasticans, and traitors against me. Even one of the ones joined you. Fine, I will crush you both. And then the Cress brothers had no choice but to face Prenna one-on-one for a decisive battle. As they went up continuously against the mountain, they then encountered Immortal Z's true form, the Ultimate Z. They were stunned. Ultimate Z was very powerful. And before anyone else could say anything, Maverick got in front of the three heroes, Dawn, Claire, and Marissa and me, and said, Ultimate Z, how selfish of you. You will destroy everything that your late Lord Medonian built for selfish power and gain. What manner of darkness and evil is this? You're supposed to be wise, but yet you are nothing more than a tool, a puppet for someone else's ambition. Is this the future of Medonian that you want? And Ultimate Z replied, sometimes you have to sacrifice great for ultimate power. I have waited long for this day to be the most powerful Medonian that has ever lived, and I will even transcend Medonian. Soon, this galaxy and its people will be named after me. Niatons. We will see brightly to our future, and we will guide this galaxy to a new hope. And Claire rebuked her lover and said, see, how dare you? You're nothing more than a coward. A fool. You really think you're doing what's best for Medonia? You're doing what's best for yourself. Your selfish ways of destroying many. Destroy the empire and cause the universe plunge back into darkness and chaos. You and you alone have destroyed the universe. No, you've destroyed Medonian, in which it will never recover. I must bring you down. It's the only way. And then one of them replied and said, you, Immortal Z, or Ultimate Z, or whatever Z you want to call it, I will soon put you in primitive Z's. Your days of immortality are over, and I will put you down once and for all. Urasami said, yet all these years you obsess over me. Is it because of my mind, or is it because of something else? I really don't care. I accepted the rule of Medonian because I believed in you, in your vision. But after seeing how far you have fallen, it is clear that I made a terrible mistake. I am not here to claim empire, but I am here to do the one thing I should have done a long time ago. That day when my husband was fighting for the sake of Scholastica, I should have put you down, and now I'm here to correct that wrong. And Uncle Z began to rise up, and a very giant clear spear evolved around him. It was filled with dozens of rotating eyes, and he began to say these words. You have said your pieces. Now you all will fall before me. The eyes of the Ayaton have seen the future, and the future, your future, is death and eternal suffering. And then he started to move in his spear, and all the eyes of firing lasers, and the four heroes had to dodge him as the fight against Ultimate Z had begun. Determined to stay alive and to prove that he was the strongest, he then trapped the top castle, because he was on the top floor of the Mariah Castle, the entire castle in a giant spear where he had ultimate influence. Those that stood on the ground were still fighting. Sadagor and Kashan were fighting against Cardine and they fighting against the Cardine and the Scholastican forces, as they realized that they were on the same side. Pinya was still fighting, but he was cut down by his advisor, Phaedra, as they made evident and clear that the Ultimate Z was the true villain, as he exposed himself. Pinya had died by the hands of his own people. A great and mighty fighter had passed away. Paul was stunned and a little saddened that a fellow warrior had to die like this, manipulated by evil. Suddenly the fighting outside the castle began to slow down as the four heroes raced to destroy Immortality. Basically only the Ayatons and Anthony and Starkey were fighting, as they were fighting against Christina, as they were convinced that she was behind everything. She tried to explain them, but they was not hearing it, and so she had no choice but to fight back. Anyway, trying to break through this invisible spear of influence, one of Dawn summoned his own spear and jam it and break the spear, thus allowing Claire to get some hits in, and Murakami to fire her gun at him, and Maverick to use his own spear to start hitting Immortality, and then he zigzagged in a giant Z form, knocking everyone down, and then he picked up Maverick and said, "You, I see you, Queen Alexa's offspring. That wretched whore, the harlot of the universe, has a son, a prime no less. I will destroy you. The Medonian, the new age that I will build, will be built upon your head." And then Dawn and Claire and Murakami band together and simultaneously kicked the Ultimate Z in his face, pushing him back. Maverick was freed. He picked up his spear, and all four of them began to down on the Ultimate Z. Ultimate Z then spun around and blasted all kinds of lasers as he summoned 1,000 eyes surrounding his body. is truly a grotesque sight. But the heroes were not deterred. They were determined. And so Mursami unlocked her true powers and fired her scholastic attack. And then Monodon fired his Medonian attack. And Claire fired her attack. And Maverick fired the attack of his father, the brother of Carissa Albino, who was the Albino Prime that was responsible for defeating the Atlantean Primes once they went evil. And he said, Albino passed. Almazila's son. Not only was this Maverick character the son of Queen Alexa, but also the son of the brother of Carissa Albino. He was truly, indeed, a full, proper, and pure prime. It couldn't be. He is the last of his kind, he said, and then he felt all four of the attacks. And the ultimately was trying to best to walk back these attacks by summoning all his eyes to the center of him as he began to walk back. And then Maverick jumped up with his spear in front, riding the waves of the blast of his allies and stabbing the center eye of the Ultimate Sea. Once then, the Ultimate Sea was defeated. The second Immortal Sea had passed away at this point, leaving the original Immortal Sea dangling on the edge of the castle's cliff. It was there that Claire told everyone to stand back. She walked towards her beloved, who at that point was beginning to gain consciousness, unaware that he was hypnotized or controlled by Ricardo Yellow and the Ultimate Sea. It was at that point that all of the Medonian's forces began to come back to normal. Satakoi and Deshawn were back. Deshawn had his legs high, about to kick a fellow Medonian, and said, What am I doing? And Satakoi arrived back to normal as well. And she was like, off his head. Wait. She had a swerving headache and said, Don't nasty remember. Immortal Sea was doing something stupid. Wait. Why are we fighting in Mariah Castle? Why is there damage? Why is somebody dead? Are we under attack? And then everyone's attention was drawn to the top of the castle, where Claire said to her beloved as she embraced him and held him tight and said, My dearest Sea, you are a very imperfect man, but you are my imperfect man, and I will love you until the end. Come, my love, it's time that we go together to the great beyond. And then Immortal Sea was like, No, I'm not ready to die. And then Claire grabbed his face and said, Yes, we'll die together. Give up immortality in this universe. Live eternally in love with me. And then the two embraced in a passionate kiss. Both of them fell down to the other edges of the castle, down a seemingly bottomless cliffside. And Immortal Sea was no longer immortal, and him and Claire perished. The Ayatons were destroyed. The Starkly Khan were disgraced. The shore was fractured. The Ayatons were no more. The knights were stunned. The plastic had to be reunited. Medonian was ruined. What was left of Medonian, harding with the Chaldean and the Scholastican forces, were only enough, the same size as Medonian was prior to the Civil War. This meant that they could no longer stand on their own. Seeing this, Maverick said, You all must band together and work out your issues. Me and Christina are going to get through alone. And Deshawn and Sadokoi said, No, we are coming too. And he said, No, you're all weak because you find each other. If I send you all to Kichu, then the Kichu will finish you off. You must stand ready. It will be a matter of time before the insurance or the builder come to attack you for a decisive battle. I and I alone must confront Rokal Yellow, as you could see from my blood, whose blood is in my veins. And then Monodon said yes. And then Mercenary said, "We wish you luck." And Sheraton said, of the Chaldean said, "You and Christina are the true heroes of this battle. I pray for your much success." And so they went off in the private castle to end the color yellow and the true empire, which is nothing more than an empire of yellow darkness.